The Ohio State Buckeyes went from having a desperate situation at quarterback to maybe now having one of the best quarterback rooms in the entire conference or country. Another 5 stars portaling in as of this weekend, and I want to talk about it. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We really appreciate it. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. And, of course, you can make every moment more with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started today. On today's podcast, Alabama's Julian Sayin, a 5-star, is now coming to Columbus. Where's the room? They've got a crowded quarterback room. Caitlin Clark took a spill over the weekend. Follow up on that. She's okay. Plus, a lot of fun with Tuesday tweets. We always love that. Be sure to subscribe down below and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Ohio State's quarterback room has gone from troublesome to downright awesome in the last month. They now have 2 5-star quarterbacks coming in with Air Noland, who is already coming in. By the way, I still think this is one of the greatest names for a quarterback all time, Air Noland. His parents knew what they were doing there. And now Alabama's 5-star recruit, Julian Sayin, is coming to Columbus. Now, we spent a lot of time speculating about this in yesterday's Locked On Big Ten podcast. In fact, you can go back on our website. We have all of our previous podcasts, including yesterday's, at talkbig1010.com. Everything is there. Check out the website. All of our podcasts, got some merch, tickets, everything is right there. Since yesterday's podcast, Sayin has made it official, and he said he's coming to Ohio State. Buckeye fans have been downright giddy on social media. Been having some fun checking that out over the past 24 hours, and rightfully so, right? Just a month ago, things were looking pretty bleak for the Buckeyes. They had been defeated by Michigan for a third straight time. Starting quarterback Kyle McCord was jettisoned to Syracuse, and the Buckeyes were embarrassed by Missouri in the Cotton Bowl with Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz. The quarterback really not lighting it up, and then they had to watch their arch rival win a national championship. Well, sure, 5-star recruit Air Noland, he was still coming through all of this that was going on. He was very steadfast. He was coming to Ohio State, wanted to play for Ryan Day, still does. But how long will it take for him to develop? True freshmen just don't walk on campus and walk right into the starting lineup at Ohio State. It might take some time. And, despite other players that were transferring out and recruits that suddenly didn't want to come after the Missouri game in the Cotton Bowl, Noland remained true to his word. He was coming to Ohio State. Okay. So he on campus now, good to go, waving at fans at basketball games. He's all in. But Ryan Day got to work and he started mixing things up. But unfortunately, it appeared that no other quarterbacks were coming in to rescue them from the transfer portal. Things they weren't working out. Then one did. Kansas State quarterback Will Howard announced that he was coming to Ohio State. At least that was something, right? And I don't think he's the best prospect by any means. He was a former 3-star recruit. He's not the most accurate passer out there in college football. He is strong and he can run. Then Ryan Day went to work on re-recruiting his own players that were borderline, maybe I'll go to the NFL, maybe I'll come back to school, getting the nil money going and talking him into coming back for another year. He's done a pretty good job with that too. Some success there for Ryan Day. So good roster coming back. And now, after all this, another 5-star quarterback, Julian Sayin, leaving Alabama because Nick Saban is retiring. He announced that, he wanted to play for Saban. Saban's not there. He's out. And he announced now he's coming to Ohio State too. And again, like Air Noland, how quickly can he develop as a true freshman on his way onto the field? That remains to be seen. Mind you, Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz, they were also highly touted quarterbacks back in the day. And, I don't think anybody should be giving up on them either. Sometimes guys don't pan out, or some guys take longer to make the adjustment to college football, right? Sometimes they turned into CJ Stroud. You strike gold. Sometimes. So, and again, Ryan Day has a pretty good track record with quarterbacks. I argue he did a pretty good job with Kyle McCord. I've been talking about that. If you listen to this and watch this podcast, we said that numerous times right here on this podcast. So I am curious, why did Sayin decide now to come to the Ohio State, enter a pretty crowded quarterbacks room? These quarterbacks these days, as soon as there's a hint of competition, they transfer out where they can be guaranteed to be a starter. Maybe there was some of that with Kyle McCord. He was not guaranteed to come back and be a starter at Syracuse, so he can be a starter. So if you got any nil money, because they don't pay you nil money if you're not on the field, right? Maybe that was what was going on with Kyle McCord a little bit. And maybe one of the reasons Sayin decided to go from Alabama to Ohio State was because early on when he was recruited at Alabama, think about this for a minute. Bill O'Brien was there at Alabama. So the first coaches he ever met at Alabama, Bill O'Brien was there. Well, we just know that Bill O'Brien just got hired going into the weekend as the new offensive coordinator for the Buckeyes. We've discussed that at length, the pros and cons of that. 18-year-old kids like familiarity when they're leaving home. And it's a pretty big world out there. And when O'Brien was announced as the new OC, Sayin made his announcement within 48 hours that he was coming to Ohio State. So maybe that had a lot to do with it. And again, it doesn't look like he's afraid of the crowded quarterback room. There are 5 guys there that certainly win this starting job. Tom Brady, when he came to Michigan, was like 8th on the depth chart. Had to work his way through. It works out if you have the talent. You got to start somewhere. Of course, injuries happen. Other kids transfer. They transfer in and out every year. You never know what's going to happen. So if that's where you want to go, that's where you go. Even greats like Joe Burrow started out at Ohio State, couldn't crack the lineup there, had to move on, went to LSU, went undefeated and won a national championship. Now he's a great NFL pro when he's healthy. So things work out eventually for everybody if you have the talent. And, while Howard is a veteran coming in, he's a 1-year eligibility. He's a stopgap guy, kind of a Band-Aid. And Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz absolutely could turn into something positive at this point. They're going to be given a chance to do so. We can't wait to see these 2 young guys, Air Noland and Julian Sayin, battle it out. Will they both stay at Ohio State? Will one get a leg up on the other one and the other one leave? All remains to be seen. Time will tell eventually. But these guys will climb from the bottom of the depth chart onto the starting field. I'm confident one of them will. Maybe they both will. But right now, I'm looking at the depth chart for Ohio State coming into the season. Will Howard will start most likely as a starting quarterback, at least at the very beginning. Devin Brown, Lincoln Kienholz are next. And you got Air Noland and Julian Sayin. It's a good group of 5. They take some time to develop, and we'll see how much time Ryan Day has to develop them, hopefully a lot, and put it on paper. This is the best future depth chart in the Big Ten at quarterback. Very, very impressive. So those are my thoughts on that. Always love to hear your thoughts as well. You can hit me up on Twitter, X at Talk Big Ten, number 10. And of course, comments here on YouTube and our website, talkbig10number10.com. Love to hear from you on all of this. Is a pretty good topic that a lot of you Ohio State Buckeye fans are pretty excited about. So I'd like to hear you talk about that, your thoughts. And also, Caitlin Clark avoiding disaster over the weekend. She's okay. It's a birthday, by the way. And we'll talk about her and what a tremendous job she is and what she means to college basketball and women's basketball. All that is coming up here in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. The NFL season is, it's winding down. It is winding down. We're in the midst of the playoffs, down to the conference championships, down to the Final Four, if you will. It's not too late for you to join FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Can't beat that, right? They've got everything sectioned off. It's easy to find on the app, whether it be point spreads, over-unders, point totals, prop bets, whatever you like, it is there. And they have all the other stuff like parlays. That's when you take a group of 2 or more games or events, put them together, and if they both hit, boom, awesome. Same game parlays. They got them live. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. They lay them out for you. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. It's the best way to find the popular parlays out there and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day, especially you everydayers. And if you're new, hey, if you like it, check it out. Tell somebody about it. Word of mouth is great. You know somebody who's a Big Ten fan. We've got a lot of teams to choose from, more than 10. Big Ten's growing all the time. Love to hear from you. And word of mouth, if you could spread the word that we're out here and let people know, it would be great. Anyway, whether you're checking us out right now, if you haven't already, subscribe down below, please. That will help us out. You can share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten no matter where you're checking out, whether you're audio only on a podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or on video. So you can follow and share and subscribe to Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Or as I say, your teams every day. We cover them all. So Sunday afternoon, I'm sitting around, I'm flipping through the channels and waiting for some NFL football to start. And I stopped on the nationally televised broadcast of Iowa women's basketball against the Lady Buckeyes at Ohio State. And Caitlin Clark is must-see TV and her usual amazing self in this game, despite the fact that the Lady Buckeyes forced that game in overtime and won rather handily in overtime. Great quality win for Ohio State, no doubt. By now, I'm sure you've seen the video of the fans storming the court afterward. And one fan ran right into Caitlin Clark, the superstar basketball player. She went down in a heap. Glad to report she's okay. Just got the wind knocked out of her. In fact, she was talking about it at the press conference afterward. Certainly her coach was upset and mad at Ohio State for letting that happen. Look, the guy just ran right around security. Ohio State athletic director Gene Smith apologized to Clark. Kevin McGuff, their coach, apologized to her. But it leads me to talk about this for a second. You know, I think when fans or students storm the field in a football game or storm the court after a humongous win, particularly if it was an upset, I think it's one of the greatest visuals, the greatest moments in sports. Love it. Love it. Love the blimp shot above a sold-out football stadium where they're all just running out of the field. Love the shot of basketball courts after a winning shot, whatever. It's great. It's great fandom. It's why we watch sports, for the reaction that it gives us. But security types and police and school administrators who pay high liability insurance premiums, they get very nervous about stuff like that. People storming an event. Inevitably, people can get hurt. Goalposts get dragged down on people. They're heavy, you know. They hurt. People get trampled. Or in Caitlin Clark's case, she gets knocked to the ground. I mean, she's a superstar player. Whether she's a bench player or a superstar player, what if she tore an ACL or got concussed? It could happen. It could happen. Thankfully, that's not what happened. She's okay. And in fact, celebrated her birthday. See, if you're watching this is on Tuesday. Her birthday was Monday. I think she's 22 years old. So all's good with the Lady Hawkeyes. But, you know, conferences like the SEC, they fine schools. If you storm the field in a football game, that's a 6-figure fine for the school. The athletic department has to pay that. It seems excessive, but they're really trying to discourage such events from occurring. But like I said earlier, I think it's one of the coolest events in sports. So if you're going to storm the court or the field, don't be a pinhead like that person at Ohio State and not pay attention and run right into a player. Come on. Get it together, man. That was brutal. Or else one of the greatest events of sports is going to be taken away from us. That's what I think. Speaking of Caitlin Clark, she's the best thing going right now in women's basketball, pro or college. You know, almost 19,000 people were on hand at Ohio for a road game for Iowa at Ohio State to watch her in Columbus. At home, the Lady Hawkeyes home games have been sold out every game for the first time in the history of Iowa women's basketball, and that was sold out this summer. It sold out before the football stadium sold out. It sold out before the men sold out. Women's basketball in Iowa is insane. It's awesome. And, even they had a blizzard like a week and a half ago. There was a travel advisory. And by travel advisory, I mean, don't drive, stay home. Carver Hawkeye Arena was nearly filled to the rafters that night. Nobody cared about the weather. They're coming to see Caitlin Clark play. She started off as a young lady at Iowa as a freshman, and she played in front of a few hundred fans each day. Now, part of that was because we were going through a pandemic. Remember, we only let a few fans in, not very many at all. Then we had remember the cardboard fans sitting in the stands? How ridiculous was that we all did it, all the games, to make it look like there were people in the stands on TV. Well, she's now got rock star status. She walks with a police escort. She signs autographs for the opposing team's fans. In this day of name, image, and likeness, she's killing it, cleaning up financially. Got her national commercials. She's all good to go. She's fantastic for college basketball. When she goes to the WNBA, she'll be great for that sport, which has had mixed results over the years, to say the least. But I think her superstardom will transfer over to that. I think the WNBA will benefit tremendously from her ability to play there. Speaking of basketball, men's basketball tonight on this Tuesday night, number 13, Wisconsin, bringing their 14-4 record into action against 12-6 Minnesota. Wisconsin had that semi-easy win Friday night over the Indiana Hoosiers. This game, Wisconsin and Minnesota, is at 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight on the Big Ten Network. 13-5 Ohio State at 14-5 Nebraska. That's a 7 o'clock game on Peacock. Watch that game. If you like basketball, watch that game on Peacock. I've been telling anybody who will listen, Nebraska at home. Nobody thinks of Nebraska as a basketball school. All right. They're like football, and their volleyball team gets some attention. Nobody thinks Nebraska basketball. They have the best home record in the Big Ten. When they're at home, they're fun to watch. They got a lot of different role players that do their job. They got a great, they can shoot. And at home, almost unbeatable. They knocked down number 1 Purdue a couple of weeks ago at Nebraska. They're really good at home. So I'm really selling this game, apparently. So Ohio State and Nebraska, 7 o'clock tonight on Peacock. Speaking of Purdue, number 2 Purdue at home against Michigan. Purdue with their 17-2 record. Michigan, 7-11 coming in at this one. That's the 9 o'clock game on Peacock. So the doubleheader tonight on Peacock. Purdue's killing people. Whether Zach Edey is inside scoring 30 points and hauling down 20 rebounds, or the Boilermakers out rebounding the other team by double, or raining 3-pointers. They had 9 threes in the other game. How do you defend the inside and the outside against them? You can't. They will only beat themselves. And women's basketball, Minnesota, the Lady Golden Gophers are 14-4, taking on the Lady Badgers at Wisconsin, 8-9. That's the 9 o'clock game on the Big Ten Network. So tonight, doubleheader on the Big Ten Network, men's basketball, Wisconsin and Nebraska, followed by the women's Minnesota and Wisconsin game, and doubleheader on Peacock, 2 men's game, Ohio State and Nebraska, the early game, Michigan at Purdue, the late game. So there you have it. Hey, if you haven't heard yet, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covers the top sports stories of the day with our local experts and local experts on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league, like Locked On Big Ten. We air over there as well. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe right after you subscribe here, please, at Locked On Big Ten. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Check it out. Okay. We always like to spend Tuesdays with something really fun we like to call Tuesday Tweets. So we will check that out in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, like I said, Tuesday tweets. Let's see if you made the list. I follow a lot of you out there, and a lot of you follow me. Don't forget, you can follow us at Talk Big Ten number 10 on X, Twitter. Also, talkbig10number10.com on our website, and comments here at YouTube. But on Twitter, if you're there, I find you amusing, I'll check it out. So I'm going to put them on the screen here. If you're listening on audio only, you can follow along. I'll describe them in detail. They're fun. Let's put them up. Here we go. We started off with a Twitter handle that is at Do Buckeyes Play Today. Yeah. And it's a picture of Snoop Dogg dancing with the phrase winning. Says the Ohio State Buckeyes do not play football today, but that hasn't stopped them this month. There's a lot of excitement. I told you, we spent the whole first half of this podcast talking about this. A lot of excitement with Buckeye football fans with the quarterbacks and the transfers, everything going on. So that's a good one. Here we are from at the Scarlet and Gray podcast. He is putting up his picture of Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin. Now at Ohio State, he caps off a great run of transfers the Buckeyes have brought in during the winter transfer portal. That's what he looks like right there. There's a picture of him all photoshopped into a Buckeye uniform. Here's the Buckeye along with Air Noland, who was working the crowd at the women's basketball game on Sunday at Air Noland. So he released this and he says, #Go Bucks. He's having a good time out there. Signing autographs, selfies. People are really excited about him. I mean, he's got a leg up there on Sayin because Nolan is there on campus and ready to roll. Here is from at FF Buck. And he says it's a picture of Air Noland and Julian Sayin. They're two great 5-star quarterbacks, but really the picture is Joe Montana and Steve Young, two future Hall of Famers in their 49er outfits working out together. Making a comparison. I get it. I see what you did there. Maybe. Here is at Adam Kington TV. It's more of a picture of a couple pictures of Air Noland just being swamped by fans, taking the selfies, signing the autographs. It says in the midst of the court storming, Buckeye fans, they got their first introduction to Air Noland Sunday. This person says he thinks he took about 100 selfies with fans before finishing off the celebration with the Buckeyes. So there you have it. Here is from at SR Hawkeyes and #fans. Let's wish Caitlin Clark a happy 22nd birthday. Caitlin Clark 22. Nice picture of her with confetti. Happy birthday, Caitlin Clark. She's got the whole world in her hands right now. Here's another picture of her at Iowa women's basketball. Tweeting this out. It's a cover of Caitlin Clark on Sports Illustrated, but the big news, Sports Illustrated going under. They let everybody go. And so they thought they'd reminisce. This was their favorite cover with Caitlin Clark on it. Yeah, another one that covers sports going down. That's why you need to keep it tuned into here. All the Locked On channels, including Locked On Big Ten. We're not going away. Here is at PFF College. It's a picture of former Alabama offensive tackle Caden Proctor. He is committed to Iowa. A lot of Iowa news. Yeah, that is a large human being. They like those kind of linemen at Iowa. Here is at College Football on Fox. It is a picture of Jim Harbaugh in Baltimore to support his brother John Harbaugh. He's in the stands watching the Baltimore Ravens beat the Houston Texans. A little support for his brother. In the middle of all of his job interviews, second interview with the Chargers, second interview with the Falcons. I presume contract negotiations still going on with Michigan, but that seems like an afterthought right now. And of course, John Harbaugh a couple of weeks ago made it through, couldn't change planes or something, some winter storm, finally made it down to Houston sometime in the first quarter to see Jim Harbaugh's national championship game against Washington. So now this is from this weekend where Jim was returning the favor, watching his brother coach in the NFL playoffs somewhere there in M&T Stadium. And all right, well, we had a lot of pro Ohio State stuff. Swanky Wolverine wasn't going to let he's one of our favorites because he's creative. We'll say that. Buckeye fans don't like this. This is a picture of the national championship trophy behind glass with a lot of cobwebs on it because their last championship was in 2014, right? All right, it's getting to be 10 years now. So that's the point by Michigan and Swanky Wolverine. The Buckeye fans who watch Locked On Big Ten don't like Swanky very much, but Michigan fans do. So I got a little bit. Look, I had 4 or 5 tweets from Ohio State stuff. This is just a couple from Michigan. All right. So there you go. As always, speaking of Twitter, don't forget to hit me up there on Twitter at, or if you call it X, at Talk Big Ten. That's the number 10. You can also get a hold of me on our website, talkbig10number10.com. As I mentioned before, we've got some merch there and ticket information, Big Ten events. It's all right there on the website, talkbig10number10.com. And if you don't want to hit me up on Twitter, you can also follow me and hit me up with some comments here on YouTube as well. Always very interesting to read those. And I always tell you, not only do I like them, sometimes people come at me for my opinion. I'm always going to give you my opinion. I'm not going to be afraid of that. Always enjoy it. A lot of you agree with what I say. Some of you don't. That's fine. And then a lot of you go after each other, which I find entertaining. Particularly if we get a Michigan comment, an Ohio State comment going back and forth, and then it just like 10 more comments just going after each other. I kind of enjoy that. I get to step outside, see what I started, and then watch it all happen. It's fun. It's fun. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate that, each and every one of you. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter, YouTube, and of course on the website, talkbig10number10.com. While you are here, before you go, like you do it right now, click subscribe if you don't mind. That will help us out a lot. And you can subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, no matter how you get us. And that way you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it is available each and every day. I always tell you guys that the audio version comes out at 4:00 Eastern every morning. It's there for you on your way to work. You want to just set it in your car and roll. Or you go, the video comes out at 6. A lot of people play the video and just listen to the audio in their car, whatever works for you. We're there and now on multiple platforms for you, and will continue to be as well. And in addition to us, I'll mention again, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day, with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe there as well. You'll be glad you did to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's constant rotation, half-hour blocks, half-hour podcasts like this air on there. We're on different times. I can't tell you when, but we're there throughout the day. All of our other platforms are on there, plus a little snippets of information and up-to-date sports. It's all right there. All right, it's going to be a big week. Keeping our eye on everything. We've got the basketball going on. We're on Harbaugh watch. We're on transfer portal watch. We got it all right here on your source for the Big Ten. Thank you for checking us out. As always, we appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thanks for checking out Locked On Big Ten. See you next time. I'm Craig Sheeman.